rank 12, and basically very short grind for this week here. 73% in. I did my 500k last week and 500k before that, so we've done 1 million honor farming so far. This is greasy. Early stream today. Normally I don't stream till like later in the day. But woke up, turned on the oven to like, I didn't want to turn on the furnace yet. Just heat up the upstairs in my house because it was fucking cold. It's like, it's warming up. It was like 6 Celsius. Now it's 11. Went out and fed the chickens, fed the dogs. Got the dishes set up. What can I listen to here in the back? What's our queues looking like today? 7 minutes. Ooh. I guess that's better than last night. I was waiting like upwards to 20 minutes per Arathi Basin. But I finished the rest of it off in what she calls it, AV, Alteric Valley. Because I was getting tired. I was like, okay, I can't like stay up multiple 20-minute queues just to like get this last like 15k honor. Yeah, we're gonna fuck around with Ellie this week. I've been having fun on it in Arathi Basin. Got new general gear for this week. They made it a 3 set instead of a 4 set, so I got 2 set bonuses from this. Feels good, man. Halfway there. In terms of the gear, I mean, we're literally so close to rank 13 for Warlord. I've actually never been this high rank before in WoW. I've always been rank 11, like Lieutenant General. Never made it to a General or higher. Also, partially why I'm going Ellie this time around, I want to get that fucking Thunderon sword dagger thing, so I can equip it with my tank set and look badass. Yeah. This bad boy. Then I realized it has damage and healing. For some reason I thought this was just like a healing weapon, but it's like literally all the casters can use this. Yeah, my dad and brother went to Toronto to go to a concert, but the one thing I'm looking forward to is I asked Nogan to pick me up some kind of fancy ramen from like a ramen shop in Toronto. I haven't had any like actual ramen besides like my own homemade. I don't make it as good as the professionals do though. Looks like Guzu and Savik stopped playing SoD, or at least uploading SoD related videos. They're like all on what's it called? Retail WoW. Alright, what's Kago Gaming got for today? This dude like straight up somehow finds a way to make a video every day.
Good evening or afternoon, everybody. It's Kago coming at you with another video. So today we have even more hot fixes that we need to discuss, and while the list isn't very long at all, the implications are definitely stuff that I really want to talk about and hear what you guys have to say regarding them and what they sort of mean. But before we get into the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Everything you guys do helps my channel grow, helps me get discovered, and helps me help as many people as possible, which is the entire point of my channel. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So I'm going to switch it over here to the hotfixes, and we're going to dive right into this short list. So the very first one that you can see here is Prince Thunder and Squall now increases in damage every cast. His Chain Lightning should no longer fail to cast the damage of his Lightning Cloud, and Cyclonic Winds has been increased. And Lightning Cloud now affects damage more frequently. So this is a massive buff to Prince Thunderin. Like, they've pretty much buffed every aspect of him and stopped.
It's because people were soloing him. People were all cool with Warlocks and whatever some other class was like soloing them. All of a sudden, oh, Shaman is able to solo it up. Better nerf it now, or better buff it.
Now, what is super important about this is that Warlocks were soloing Prince Thunderin because
I'm gonna leave a comment. Only once the Ellie Shamans were, get out of my face, were soloing this boss, they decide to fix it. Ain't that the damn truth?
A tank Warlock could do it. They had enough self-healing to just out-heal his damage, essentially solo. And while this took an hour to 2 hours to do, depending on your gear, I don't know. I don't think of it as too bad because it takes so long to do. Like, you can assemble a group and you can blast it in about 5 minutes, or you can waste an hour or two of your own time to get 2 pieces of tier that you probably can't use, and then 1 piece of gear. So to me, I always think soloing hard content like that, like people have found ways to solo the ZG boss for their tiger mounts. People have found ways to solo forever, but it takes so long. Someone killed it even currently in this phase of SoD with their current gear, and it took them 8 hours and took a ton of kiting and just using their spells. So very interesting to see that
ZG,
sort of behavior.
right?
I always think it's cool to see that type of stuff because it shows like mastery of the game and the class people are playing. And like at the end of the day, it's their time that they are wasting to do this. So I don't see anything.
I was willing to put in like 90 minutes in to try and solo that boss.
There's even a hunter nowadays that still solos retail bosses. By the end of the phase or the expansion, he always tries to kill it on like normal, the first boss on normal or heroic or even mythic.
I was able to do a lot of crazy solo stuff as hunter for like old raids, something that most people, I mean, nowadays, like at current expansion, you probably destroy all the old raids, but like back in MOP, it was kind of a challenge to like start soloing shit from like what you calls it, Cataclysm and Wrath.
Sometimes depending on the boss, and he's been doing it since Mists of Pandaria and Siege of Orgrimmar. So it is definitely something that's really cool, and people will literally spend days figuring out how to do it, and then actual hours in game during the boss fight to make sure they can do it. And I just think it is so cool to see people take WoW to that level of mastery and sweat that hard to achieve something that, you know, like it's awesome to say you did it, but like it doesn't really impact the game too much, and so it's just fun to see it in my opinion. However, buffing every single aspect of this fight makes it a lot harder, so it's a little concerning. We did one of our groups last night without the buff, and then we did the second group with the buff, and it was definitely noticeable. A lot more damage was going out. People were dying. And to address this guy's comment right here, if you're going to make it harder, can Prince drop more items per kill?
Yes, please.
I would really love for him to drop, like, the 2 pieces of tier is fine, but I would also love to see him drop another piece of gear on his loot table, because 1 piece of gear just really sucks. 3 pieces of loot for 20 people, I think we could bump that up to 4. I think that would be a lot better. 2 tier and 2 pieces of loot, especially since he's a lot harder now than what he was. Given what he was pretty easy, I still think we would see more loot would be better.
But yeah, those hot fixes here for the Prince Thunderon. Oh wait, yeah, the first mechanic is Squall. Never mind.
For sure. Then the next thing is that players are now able to learn both armor smithing and weapon smithing at the same time. So this goes back to Phase 5. They announced that with Phase 5 coming out, it has been almost 2 weeks now, and they're just unable to learn it. They said we would be able to learn it, and they just can't learn it right now, which really sucks. but I do think that they will be able to. It's good to see that it finally works now. I do not have a blacksmith, or I'd go there and test it for you guys right now and show you. But if you are a blacksmith, and there has been people commenting every blue post video that I've made that this has not worked, but if you could go test that for me, let me know. Let people know in the comments that it's working. I would love to hear that as well. But good on them to get this working right. I don't know what the issues were. I think pre-existing people who had already completed one were really struggling with it, from what people were telling me. But once again, don't have a blacksmith, so I don't really know. Then the Blackwing trials can no longer be disabled once Nefarian has been defeated. So I don't like this at all. This change is silly. A lot of people use the alchemy table in Blackwing Lair, and having the trials still work while you are in the instance. So
I gotta disprove this one, guys. Like, people had good gear. It's like, nah, fam. I had baseline shit, elemental gear when I heard this could be soloed. I think if they didn't nerf Squall, I would have been easily able to keep myself alive.
Randomly just get blue and green bombs, whatever you killed it on. And so if you're going to use the alchemy table in there to make your flasks, Nef can, the affixes really hurt. Red specifically hurts a ton. I know that for a fact. So it's just really, I don't know why it matters if people disable them after Nef's been defeated. Trash no longer respawns. There isn't any reason that I can see that you would need them on other than to troll people going to the Alch Lab, because that's the only reason to go back there into Blackwing Lair. So it's just really weird to me to see that change, because at the end of Nef you get all, like, Nef the last boss, you get the rewards. I see no reason why they shouldn't be able to be turned off after that for people going to the alchemy tables. However, I'm sure there's some bug or something that was happening that was causing something to go wrong. It would be my best guess, but I feel like this is really weird. Then we have a comment right here. Then make it so they no longer go off after he's been defeated too. Getting to the alchemy table with red is not a lot of fun. Very well said, Rogue. Yeah, I don't really know why they would have such, like, grievance with that alchemy table, but those are the changes, guys. As you said, I shared all my thoughts on all three of those. Three small, like, just 3 sentences essentially is what we covered, but have big game implementations. Let me know how you guys feel about people soloing Thunderon and soloing bosses. I really don't think it's that big a deal because it takes so long to do it. Like, it's just terribly inefficient, and you can have a lot of, challenge, prestige, and fun doing it. But that's just my opinion on it and what I think. It's just, it's something that's been in the game, and people try to do it for a very long time. So I don't see too much hate coming from it for those things. But anyway, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about that, and I truly hope you enjoyed this video. And until next time, I'll see you later. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hey, you. Yes, you. Are you still there? Well, I appreciate you for taking the time to watch this entire video and making it to the end here. If you enjoyed this video, definitely check out the other videos about World of Warcraft listed in these playlists down below. And thank you again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
So I've been invited to play D&D. I've never played it before, and it's like my neighbor across the road invited me with a mutual friend that I've known since high school. Well, acquaintance. I wouldn't call him a friend, but I don't know if they've got any more than just us three for this, but gonna be doing like a 3-man D&D thing. I forget what those are called. A session or something like that. So let's search up how to play D&D. He said make my character by Friday, so I don't know what I'm doing on making a character. I have a feeling I've heard of bards and shit. I'll make 2 possible like characters in case we already have a. I don't know if you can class stack or whatever in D&D. You could have 2 bards. I don't know if anyone else wanted to be a bard, but I always hear those guys are the charisma ones, right? Charisma class. Rizzes up people. I'll be the one good person on the team and defend. Oh wait, we got a rogue here. How to play Dungeons and Dragons. A quick beginner. Oh, it's 3-minute guide, really? And I don't have any minifigures or anything like that, and I don't have my own D&D dice.
Dungeons and Dragons, a gateway to
I feel
countless
like
adventures, may seem daunting for beginners, but fear not.
The DM
today we'll guide you
rolls
through
the
your
dice
first
anyways.
steps into the fantastic world of D&D 5th edition. First, you need to gather your tools, friends. First, you'll need to gather your tools. The D&D starter set is a great place to begin. It includes a set of dice, a rule book, a ready-to-play adventure, and pre-generated characters. But if you want a more personalized experience, you'll need the player's handbook. It contains all the rules for character creation and gameplay. Now, let's delve into creating your first character. A character sheet is where you will keep track of everything about your character. Name, race, class, abilities, spells, equipment, all will be recorded here. First, choose your character's
I'm gonna
race.
need a book for
Each
this.
race, like elves, dwarves, or humans.
I'm gonna have to go visit the dude and be like, so could we like withhold this? I need to like get all this shit. I know we drunkenly talked about playing D&D like a few weeks ago, like maybe 3 weeks ago at this point, maybe. And yeah, I didn't think we were actually gonna do it.
Humans has unique traits and abilities. Your choice can influence your character's skills, lifespan, and even how they interact with the game world. Next, select your character's class. This is their profession or calling in the world. Wizards cast spells, fighters excel in combat, rogues are stealthy and cunning, and so on. Your class determines your combat abilities and skills. Now it's time to determine your ability scores. These 6 scores define your character's basic capabilities and raw potential. They are strength, dexterity, constitution,
Charisma.
intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Depending on your game group, you might roll dice or use a point-buy system to determine these. Choose your character's equipment and background. The equipment includes weapons, armor, and other items your character carries. The background provides a backstory, additional skills, and role-playing hooks. Once your character is
Unless
ready,
the group-
it's time to play.
So I feel like
Gameplay
if there's
in
3 of
D&D
us, like
is a
I
conversation
feel like we
between
need
the
one
players
person that can
and
heal,
the
one
dungeon
person that can
master or
tank.
DM. The DM describes the world and the results of your actions, while you, as the player, describe what your character thinks, does, or says in response. When your character attempts a task, you'll often roll a 20-sided die, or d20. Add relevant modifiers, and compare the result to a difficulty number set by the DM. Success or failure, your choices and their consequences will drive the story forward. The best part about D&D is sharing adventures with friends. Gather a group either in person or online. If you can't find a group, check your local game stores or online platforms. You can also join our Discord and go to our Looking for Games channel to potentially join a game. Wherever you find your group, the D&D community is always welcoming new players. And that's it. Remember, the goal of D&D is to have fun. So don't worry about getting everything perfect the first time, because I'm perfect. The rules are just a framework for your share.
Here's another one, a little bit longer.
Dungeons and Dragons is probably the most popular role-playing game in the world. It's been the subject of a lot of jokes over the years, but now, thanks in no small part to this bunch of nerdy-ass voice actors, or maybe these 80s kids,
Fireball him! Cast protection! The Demogorgon is tired of your silly human bickering!
it's more popular than
Okay, that's where
ever,
I first
and
seen
more and more
D&D
people
and
want to
media
give
was
it a try.
Stranger
In D&D,
Things.
the Dungeon Master creates and describes an elaborate fantasy world of magic and mystery. The other players create characters such as elves, dwarves, warriors, and wizards to explore this imaginary land and complete quests, slay monsters, and get treasure. But how do you actually play Dungeons and Dragons? What do you need? How long does it take? Does the
Could
Dungeon
take
Master
years
just
for a
make
campaign.
everything up? How does it work? I'm Mark Humes, and I happen to know a thing or two about D&D and RPGs.
Hello! Hello, everybody. I am going to be your GM for this session. I am the Dungeon Master
GM?
for the D&D show
You mean
High
DM.
Rollers D&D. We're from the UK. Technically, it's Pete.
It's Pete.
One of the counts rolls out the way.
I need
So
some
I
kills.
put together this video to show you the basics. This is how to play Dungeons and Dragons. One of the most common questions folk interested in D&D ask, what do you need to play? The basics are pretty simple and won't cost you much at all to start out. You're gonna need the following. Some friends, before anybody comments like, haha, where do I get some of those, you hilarious comedians, you. If you don't have anyone who you know is interested in playing, try looking into Discords, Reddit, or Facebook groups. Ask your local gaming store, or see if your college or university has an RPG club. There's a lot of folks eager to play out there. You'll also need somewhere you can all get together to play. This could be a friend's house, a gaming store, or even a Discord server. Some character sheets, like the one shown here, will be very useful. A set of dice. Specifically for D&D,
Kill
you
this
want a set
asshole.
like this. This includes a 20-sided die, as well as a 12, 10, 8, 6, and 4-sided die. You'll also want a copy of the rules.
I don't
You
got-
can download the basic rules of D&D for free from the D&D website. I've included a link in the description below, as well as a link to the PDFs for the character sheets I mentioned earlier. The basic rules covers how to play the game, how to make very simple characters, limited to a few races and classes without many options, and a small handful of monsters and magic items for the Dungeon Master to use. You could also buy a copy of The Player's Handbook. This book contains everything in the basic rules, as well as additional choices for character creation, high-level spells, and all sorts of bonus information. Alternatively, you could also grab either the D&D starter set or Essentials kit. Both provide the basic rules along with a pre-written adventure for the Dungeon Master to use, a set of dice, as well as maps and more. They are both a great choice for first-time players. One thing I really want to stress is you do not need to dress up to play D&D. Dungeons and Dragons is not LARPing.
Lightning bolt.
You might have seen some folks play on Twitch or YouTube wearing elf gear, costumes, or other stuff. But let me tell you now that these are the exception. Most folks don't do this. If you want to do it for fun, go for it, have a blast, but it is not expected. You may also think D&D needs lots of miniatures and maps or fancy accessories.
I was thinking of
like
the miniatures
dungeon
as well.
tiles. But again, this is not the case. These are accessories that can be nice to have, but they're not essential. Another common question, and one without a firm answer really, is how long does it take, or how long do you play for? And honestly,
be a couple
this
hour
varies
sessions.
depending on your group and how much fun you're having. Expecting your average D&D session to be somewhere between 2 to 5 hours, where 3 to 4 is probably the average, but there's no set time limit. If you can only manage 90 minutes, that's fine. Want to play for 7 hours? Go for it. One of the wonders of this game is that it has no strict end or time limit. It's whatever works best for you and your group. As you get ready to play, one of your group will take on the role of the Dungeon Master, or DM for short.
I am Dungeon Master.
This might already be decided, and it's usually the most experienced member of the group.
Well, that's
But
not me.
If you're all new, then decide who this is going to be. Don't fret over
Our,
this too
white
much.
boy is gonna be
Being
the
a DM
DM.
might seem scary, but the truth is, anyone can do it with practice. Skills that would be helpful for a new DM would be having a good imagination and the ability to describe things to others, being able to keep track of lots of different things at once, being able to improvise ideas on the spot. The Dungeon Master is the person who will describe the world, narrate the effects of the player's actions, and control all the other characters and monsters in the world that aren't being controlled by the players. They usually have a good understanding of the rules and should be the one to make any final decisions if something isn't clear or you aren't sure. Whilst the DM gets to make decisions on what happens when the player does something, decide how difficult something might be, and how the people and monsters of the imaginary world react to the things that the players do, it's important to know that the DM is not the player's enemy. They're a member of the group too, and their job is to work as both referee and narrator to provide a fun experience for everybody. This means the Dungeon Master is often doing a lot more work than the players, preparing the adventures, managing a lot of different things at once, so be respectful of that. Pay attention to the DM when they're speaking and don't argue with them during the game. If you feel that the DM has gotten something wrong or forgotten something, it's often best to save it for after the game and discuss it as a group together. Every other player except for the Dungeon Master creates a character to represent themselves in the imaginary world. Making a Dungeons & Dragons character is a whole process, one that I can't possibly cover in this video. But
I need a video for that.
Kind of go as follows. You choose a race, such as an elf, dwarf, halfling, or human, as well as a class, such as fighter, cleric, rogue, or wizard. These help define what your character can do in the world. You also choose a background, such as a noble, a sailor, a blacksmith, or a criminal, to help give your character some personality and explain who they were before they started going on their adventures. These choices create a persona that you will play and use to explore the world that the Dungeon Master creates and describe it to you. Your class and your background will give you proficiency in different skills that you can use to accomplish tasks, as well as abilities and spells that you can use to fight your enemies. You get to decide almost everything else. What does your character look like? How do they speak or act? Where do they come from? Did they have parents? Did they inherit the magical sword Thunderbrand from the ghost of their elven grandfather, but it was stolen by cultists of the evil goddess Tiamat? You get the idea. Another quick thing to note, you don't need to have some elaborate backstory or quirky character traits when you start. But the more you can think about your character's past, their goals, how they interact with others, the easier it will be to immerse yourself in the game. You don't need to know all of this when you start though, you can develop it as you go. One last thing, when you make your character, it's very important to remember that D&D is a cooperative game about going on adventures.
I'm going on an adventure!
Your character should have a reason to work with others. And
Hold on. Grabbing another cup of coffee before I continue on listening to this.
and have something that motivates them to go on dangerous, deadly adventures. Playing an edgy, miserable loner or a nervous wreck that wouldn't leave their home might sound interesting, but in reality, these characters might not be as fun for everyone else at the table. Make a character that's fun to play, but also fun for others to play with. So, you have the Dungeon Master, and
Yeah, I don't
players
have the
created
official
their
guidebook,
characters.
so I don't know all the
What
rules
now?
to this
The
shit.
Dungeon Master describes a
I
situation.
could order one
a
off
setting
Amazon,
of the
but
fancy
I'm
world.
pretty sure I won't get
A
it
common
like
trope is
before
you
Friday.
all arrive at a tavern, and then present some sort of opportunity. A merchant might need heroes to stop vicious wolves attacking people on the road, or a tribe of goblins might have stolen the town's grain supply. The DM sets the scene, describing it with how it looks, how it sounds and smells. They might play the part of an NPC, a non-player character, who explains things to the players. Then, the DM says the magic words.
What do you do?
The players then say what they want their character to do, and the DM narrates the effects of their actions. That's it. That's the game. In its absolutely simplest form, that
straightforward
is Dungeons and Dragons. See, D&D isn't like a video game or board game. For the most part, you can do whatever you want. How you approach the problems or opportunities the DM gives you is up to you. You can try and convince the goblins to give the grain back, or sneak
thanks
in
for the
and steal
subscription.
it, or fight them. You could trade them the grain for an illusory birthday cake, or make them a real cake laced with poison. The imaginative world is your oyster. It's completely up
Thanks
to
for
you.
the subscription.
You can also ask the DM for more questions before you decide.
I wish I had set up my thing, because normally, or unless I need a new updated OBS, it would normally show who subscribed, but I just hear the sound effect. I didn't set it up for today.
It does. Can I see any other elves in the tavern? Does the door look like it has any traps on it? Can I tell if the Baron is lying to us? The DM then answers those questions, adding detail and flavor to the world or the scene. Sometimes the DM won't know what those details are until you ask. If they're using a pre-written adventure, it might not say if there are any elves in the tavern or if the Baron is lying or not. This is where the DM gets to do their own thing. Maybe they add an elven bard with a mysterious scar to the tavern, coming up with a suitable reason why they're there. Maybe they decide the Baron is lying about the Mad Wizard's Tower because that's where he's secretly storing his stolen gold. Where D&D becomes a game and less narrative is when the DM believes that the character has a chance to fail at whatever they're doing. If there is a chance the character will fail, maybe because it's too hard or because someone else is trying to stop them, then the DM will ask the players to roll the dice and see what happens. The player rolls a 20-sided die, a d20, and then adds a bonus based on the character that they've created. The DM assigns a secret number to determine the difficulty of the task. We call this the difficulty class, or DC for short. If the player's total roll, the result of the dice plus their bonus, is equal to or higher than the DM's secret number, the DC, then they succeed. If it's lower, they fail. Either way, the DM then describes the outcome and what happens next. There is a guide for this secret number the DM can use as a reference, but the DM can also adjust it, depending on the circumstances. Trying to pick a well-made lock is made even more difficult if you're trying to do it whilst blindfolded, or trying to enter a castle by climbing over the wall without any tools. Regardless, one important thing to remember is that failure is a part of the game. You are not expected to succeed at everything. In fact, sometimes failing can be more fun and take the story in more interesting ways than if you'd succeeded. When you make your character, you record everything onto a character sheet. This is a record of the skills and bonuses and abilities.
Our guys can die, right? I'm pretty sure.
For some, this is a very daunting part of
I don't know if I still show up to the sessions if my guy dies, or I make a new character they meet on the adventure.
It's also worth mentioning that character builder apps and websites like D&D Beyond can be a huge help when making a character, as they do the math for you. The most important thing on the character sheet are the 6 ability scores. Almost everything else on your character sheet uses these in some way,
Strength,
as a
wisdom,
modifier
charisma,
or
all that other
bonus to
shit.
something else. The 6 scores are as follows: Strength, Dexterity, Constitution, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. Strength is how strong and athletic you are. It's used for swinging swords, climbing, swimming, wrestling. Dexterity, how agile and coordinated you are. It's used for shooting arrows, balancing across
agility.
things, or dodging explosions. Constitution, how tough
HP.
and resilient you are. Used for how much damage you can take, resisting poisons. Intelligence is how smart and logical you are. Used for knowing things and investigating places. Wisdom, how aware and intuitive you are, used for spotting danger,
Presence of
reading body
mind.
language, resisting mind control. Charisma is how influential and confident you are, used for charming, deceiving, or intimidating.
So if I play a bard, don't
When
they
you make
naturally
your
get
character,
higher charisma?
You'll give each of these 6 abilities a number. That number determines the type of bonus you get when making dice rolls involving that ability. This is one of the more confusing parts of D&D, and it's a holdout from previous versions of the rules, but think of it like this. You score each ability with a number, from 3 to 18. The score determines the level of bonus you get to dice rolls. This bonus is called the ability modifier. A score of 10 in your strength, dexterity, etc. is equal to a +0 ability modifier. It's the average for a normal person in the fantasy world. Every even number after 10 results in a better modifier. +1 at 12, +2
What
at
if it's
14,
an odd number?
+3 at 16, etc. Every odd number below 10 results in a negative modifier. -1 at 9, -2 at 7, -3 at 5. So, if you have a strength of 16, you get a +3 to dice rolls involving your strength. If you have an intelligence of 8, you have a -1 to dice rolls involving your intelligence. Below your main ability scores is a big list of skills. These skills are specialized uses of your main abilities. When your DM describes an obstacle to what you want your character to do, they may ask you to make a specific skill check. Or you might ask your DM if you can use a skill to do something yourself. If you were trying to swim across a river, your DM may ask you to make an athletics check. If your DM describes a busy tavern full of rich-looking merchants, you might ask your
Charisma.
DM if you can use your sleight of hand skill to steal some coins from their bulging purses. Each skill lists which ability bonus you add when using that skill. So athletics has strength in brackets, indicating you add your strength ability modifier when using that skill. If you're proficient in certain skills, you get to add another bonus called the proficiency bonus to your dice rolls, as well as your ability modifier. The proficiency bonus is determined by your level. At level 1, it is +2, for example. So you add +2 to any skill you are proficient in. There's obviously a lot more on the character sheet, but this video would be pretty long if I broke down each thing in detail. So here's a very quick overview. Armor class, a number used to determine how hard you are to hit in a fight, calculated based on the armor you are wearing, if you have a shield, and sometimes your dexterity ability modifier. Initiative, how fast you react in battle, use your dexterity modifier. Speed, how fast your character can walk, run, etc. Hit points, how much damage you can take before you are dead. This depends on the class you are and your constitution modifier. Saving throws. These are worked out just like skills and used when you are attacked or the target of something unexpected or magical, such as a pit trap, mind control, or a fireball explosion. Death saves. You get 3 chances to resist death when you run out of hit points.
Okay.
Hit dice can be used to heal yourself of damage during rests. Depends on what class you are. Attacks. Worked out just like skills, except it depends on what weapons you are proficient in using. Melee weapons use strength, ranged weapons use dexterity, and magical attacks use either your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. Okay, that
Charisma
was a
for
lot
magic?
of words and terms. Let's slow things down a little bit, and let me give you an example of how a simple situation in D&D might be played out. The DM, let's call him Matt, describes that the players have come to a large, fast-flowing river that blocks their path to the caves where the goblin thieves have taken the town's grain. A large, moss-covered tree has fallen across it to form a bridge, but it's quite narrow. Jasmine decides her character, an elf rogue called Sapphire, would boldly try and cross over the wooden log to reach the other side before anyone else, wanting to show off to her new traveling companions. The DM says this is a fantastic idea, and describes Sapphire stepping up onto the log and carefully beginning to make her way across it. As there is a chance Sapphire could slip and fall, the DM asks Jasmine to make an acrobatics check to keep her balance. The DM secretly decides that the wet moss and damp logs makes it quite slippery, and that this would be a pretty tricky task. So, he decides that Sapphire would need to be a 15 in order to cross without falling in. Jasmine looks at her character sheet and sees that she has a +5
I gotta make a
bonus
character
to her
sheet.
acrobatics skill. This comes from her dexterity bonus and being proficient in the skill. Jasmine doesn't know the number she
I got a
needs to
binder
beat,
from high
so
school
she
that has like
nervously
some
rolls a
unused
D20.
line paper.
She rolls an 8, and with
From
a
like
+5
over
bonus,
10 years
it gets
ago.
a total of 13. Sadly, not enough to succeed. The DM describes Sapphire losing her balance on the wet moss as she tumbles into the cold, fast-moving river, before turning to Jasmine's friends and asking, what are they going to do? Simon
save
wants
her?
his character, Rev, a halfling paladin, to try and throw something to Sapphire to grab hold of. The DM says absolutely, but asks if Rev is going to use something like a branch from nearby, or if they have something on their character that they can use. Simon looks at his character sheet and sees that they are carrying 50 foot of rope. They say they want to throw that to Sapphire. The DM decides that Rev can't really fail at throwing the rope to their friend, so the rope is caught, and Sapphire might be safe. But as Rev chases after Sapphire, the rest of the party hear a high-pitched cackling coming from the other side.
Like a witch.
A big thing to touch on is combat. Combat in D&D works almost the same way as what we've already described, but with some tweaks. First things first, the DM will call for everyone to roll initiative.
I tell you what you do. You roll initiative. Yes.
Wait.
Initiative is
But
used
do I need my own dice to do that, or do we just share the DM's dice for those rolls? I mean, I could buy some dice and shit, and like a little minifigure, and I probably need to buy the book.
determine the order of when everybody gets to take a turn. Normally in D&D, you don't
I'm gonna have
worry
to go
about
all the
it.
way to my
What
buddy,
players
well,
doing is
acquaintance
march or as
Cody's
little as
house.
they want, engaging with situations described by the DM
I'll
in
be
a
playing
free fashion.
D&D over
However,
there.
in combat, a
So I don't think
turn
I'll be able
order
to
is
stream
important
it.
to decide who attacks when. Just like when making an ability or skill check, you roll a 20-sided die and add your initiative bonus and tell the DM the result. The DM will do the same for the monsters, and starting with the highest score, each participant will take their turn. On your turn, you can basically do 2 to 3 things. Move and an action, sometimes something called a bonus action. An action could be swinging your sword, casting a spell, climbing a rope, or trying to scare an enemy off. Moving is just what it sounds like. You move your character. You can move up to your speed as listed on your character sheet. Attacks work just like skills. You get a bonus from either your strength, dexterity, or the ability score you use for your spells, and another bonus if you're proficient in the type of weapon you are using. But rather than trying to beat a number that the DM has set in their mind, you're trying to score higher than the monster's armor class. When you hit a creature by rolling equal to or over their armor class, you then determine how much damage you deal to their hit points. You determine damage based on what weapon or spell you are using. For example, a dagger only deals 1d4, a 4-sided dice, of damage, whilst a great axe deals 1d12, a 12-sided die.
What's
Certain
a 20
classes are
dice?
only proficient in certain types of weapons, restricting you on what you can use effectively. Whatever damage you deal is subtracted from a creature's hit points, a numerical value of their toughness, good luck, stamina, etc. When your hit points go down to 0, you're knocked unconscious and you're dying. Your allies can save you by using healing spells to give you more hit points or treating you with a medicine skill to stop you from dying. However, if they don't save you and you fail 3 death saving throws, your character is dead, finito, gone to the great beyond. Of course, being a fancy world full of magic and mystery, there may be ways to bring dead characters back to life, though usually this requires a powerful spellcaster or completing an epic quest. Plus, you can always just make a new character to play. There's a lot more to combat, but for the absolute basics, that's almost everything you need to know. The only thing to mention are critical hits. In D&D, when you attack an enemy and roll a 20 on the 20-sided dice,
20
this is
natural
called
crit.
a critical hit, and it deals extra damage.
Times 2
Usually
damage.
this is an extra roll of whatever dice you use to deal damage normally, but some DMs may prefer to have critical hits cause double or maximum damage. In older editions of D&D and other tabletop role-playing games, rolling a 1 is called a critical fail or a fumble, and would have adverse effects for any player who did so, like dropping your sword or hitting an ally, but this isn't a core rule of D&D 5th edition anymore. Likewise, critical hits only apply to attack rolls. If you roll a 20 on a skill check or saving throw, it doesn't have any additional effects other than just being a really good number to roll. I want to touch on role-playing. If you've seen D&D Twitch streams, you might think that role-playing means doing a funny voice.
Daddy! What in blazes is going on? The dwarf kind of like looks around.
Sorry, Arvel.
What's going on?
I don't know, tell me.
Or having an emotional discussion with your fellow players or DM.
Can I write to you if I leave letters? Can we be pen pals just that?
Or vividly explaining in detail how your character fights in battle. It can be those things, but it also isn't. When you think, what would my character do?
What would
and then
Jesus
say what
do?
your character does. Congratulations, you're role-playing. You are making decisions for a character based on their
fight, bro.
personality or backstory, rather than deciding what you, as a player, would do.
Yes.
When you play D&D, you don't have to do a funny voice or an accent. You don't even need to speak in the first person. Saying, My character walks up to the bar and orders a drink for the party is just as valid a way to play D&D as going, I walk up to the bar, tossing my hair to the side and pulling several coins from my embroidered pouch. Hail and well met, barkeep. My good fellows, my companions and I would like a round of your finest ales. One might seem more fun to you, one might seem really cringy and awkward. Neither way is right or wrong, as long as you are respecting the world the DM is building, as well as your fellow players' decisions, and you're having fun, you're playing D&D right. The last thing on role-playing is, don't let anyone tell you how to play your character. Your warlock doesn't have to be the edgy, miserable, evil servant of the devil. They might be a spoiled brat who treats her devilish patron like a sugar daddy. Your cleric doesn't need to be a holier-than-thou pious healer who respects all life. They may be a cynical veteran soldier who swears and drinks and embraces their god to try and find meaning in their life. The internet is especially good at telling people their fun is wrong. Don't listen to them, and if they want to fight about that, send them my way. I've got your back. Obviously, there's a little bit more to D&D than all of that. Individual spells have their own rules, classes have unique abilities, and all sorts of other details. But in reality, you'll pick that stuff up as you go. If you can understand these basics, you can start playing and enjoying Dungeons & Dragons right away. And the more you play, the more you'll learn, and the easier all of this will become. I hope that this video has been helpful. If it was, please do consider liking and commenting and sharing the video with others. Places like Reddit, Facebook, Discord are all full of players looking to get into D&D, so any sharing is super helpful. Stay tuned and subscribe for more videos about D&D, LARP, and all sorts of other fancy sci-fi stuff. Until then, have fun, be kind to each other, and unleash your imagination.
How to make a D&D character. Quick guide. How long's this? Oh my god. Oh, it's 2 minutes. It's just the paper he made looked pretty complex.
Your character sheet in Dungeons & Dragons is the key to your identity in the game world. It encompasses your character's abilities, skills, equipment, and more. Today, we'll walk you through the character sheet and how to fill it out. Let's start with the basics. Your character's name is your choice, while your class, level, race, and background are based on the options provided in the player's handbook. Next, we have your ability scores: strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. These scores are usually determined by rolling dice, using a point-buy system, or taking the standard array as per your group's preference. Your ability scores then modify your skills. For example, a high dexterity score will give a bonus to stealth and acrobatic skills. Your class and background also determine which skills you're proficient in, which gives an additional bonus. Then we have your armor class, hit points, and speed. Armor class, or AC, is determined by what armor you wear and your dexterity modifier. Hit points are based on your class and constitution modifier. Your speed is generally determined by your race. In the attacks and spellcasting area, list any weapons, spells, or class features you can use in combat. Your class and level determine what weapons and spells you can use, and your ability scores modify how effective they are. Under equipment, you'll list the items your character carries. This includes weapons, armor, adventuring gear, and any magical items you might acquire. In features and traits, you will list racial traits, class features, and feats. Special abilities that give you new capabilities or improve existing ones. Some are given by your race or class, while others are chosen as you level up. Your character's appearance and backstory go in the designated space, along with allies and organizations you're a part of, and any additional notes. This area helps you flesh out your character as a person, not just a collection of stats. Lastly, note down your character's alignment, which represents their moral compass and their deity, if they have one. The experience points section is where you track your progress towards leveling up. Your character sheet is a living document that evolves as your character grows and changes. While it may seem complex, each piece has a purpose in bringing your character to life in the game. The key is to let it guide your play, not define it. If you want to watch more videos like this, go ahead and click this video right here for more helpful tips. And if you want to leave us a thank you, head over to our Patreon and support us over there. Fare thee well, questers.
Is there more to it? Or is there a longer guide than this? How to make a D&D character? Oh, there's like an official Dungeons and Dragons YouTube channel?
To play Dungeons and Dragons, you'll need a character. But you can find tons of ready-to-go adventurers online to pick up and start playing. Or you can use your imagination and follow some simple steps to create your own. But either way, you'll need a character sheet. The thing that keeps track of anything and everything you need to know about the person you're playing. It might seem like a lot is going on, but before long, you'll be slaying dragons with the best of them. So to get started creating your original character, open up your player's handbook or get online and grab a sheet. Start thinking of who you want to be and fill in their name. Now you decide what race you want to be. This helps determine what you'll look like and possibly some of your abilities. For instance, as a wood elf, your swift stride increases your speed, and you'll be able to speak certain languages such as Elvish or Dwarvish. Now you pick a class. This is what you do and what you bring to the party. It's more than just a job, it's often a calling. You might get certain tools. For example, a druid will have a herbalism kit. You'll likely start at first level, but chat to your DM first to double check. Then select a background. What were you doing before the adventure? Maybe you were working hard in a blacksmith shop, or living the easy life as a rich noble. A little backstory will add colour to your character and may come in handy later on. Next, we define your character's abilities. These are the basic attributes they have, such as how strong they are or how smart. You can leave it up to chance by rolling a set of dice, or by assigning a standard set of numbers to the abilities you want. Alternatively, you can use the variant point system, which lets you buy up numbers to give you very different options, like 3 high and 3 low. You might also receive a bonus from your race. These numbers will start to tell the story of who your character is and what they're capable of. For example, dexterity will decide your initiative, which affects the order you take your turn in combat and how quickly you react to danger. Now it's onto the saving throws. These represent your ability to resist a spell, trap, poison, or similar threat. The next box is for skills, which all relate to your main abilities. Maybe you grew up as part of the circus and became skilled in acrobatics, or perhaps your calm, even demeanor makes you an expert at handling animals. Your proficiency or expertise in these skills will earn you a bonus based on your level. The class, background, and sometimes race of your character will come with different skills. Then there's the equipment you have, such as a backpack, bedroll, and gold. Some classes, such as fighters, have weapons too, so you'll add those above. Other classes cast spells, so they don't need to lug an axe around when they can blast fireballs with just a click of the fingers or a wave of their wand. You also have armor, depending on your class, which determines how hard you are to hit. Then, before you go diving into battle, it's good to know your hit points. Every class has a hit dice, which is what you roll to find out your hit points. Weedy wizards have a d6, so frequently stand in the back, while beefy barbarians have a d12, so you can take a few punches. It's all about how many hits you can take, and how hardy you are, so you add your constitution modifier to this number. Next, there are certain features and traits you can have from your race and class, such as being able to see in the dark, learn certain spells, or hide in heavy rain. Then you can add some flavor to your character, their personality traits, ideals, and flaws, things that help bring them to life, such as being super optimistic, or punching first, and asking questions never. The character sheet is a way of keeping track of everything you need to know, but how you roleplay your character will really determine who they are. The numbers don't define your living, breathing character. The decisions you make about how they engage with the world around them does. So that's it, a character made and a sheet filled in. go forth and adventure.
Wait, there's another one. Wait, it said how to play. Episode 1.
To play character will really determine who they are. The numbers don't define your living, breathing. That's and a sheet filled with adventure.
Show me this one right here.
Hi everyone, you're watching WASD20.
Whoops.
Hi everyone, you're watching WASD20. My name is Nate. Today's video is intended for newcomers to D&D to give you a little more comfort with the game and to help you understand what the heck this game is and how it works. For this one, I'm assuming that you have a character sheet, that maybe you've seen some of my character creation videos, and our goal here is really to understand.
I see these character sheets being brought up, but I don't have a fucking printer to print like my own character sheet. I'm gonna have to like kind of or ask the DM across the road if he's got any extra character sheets. Or I remember he mentioned something like a D&D app, and I tried to download it, but didn't have enough space on my phone. So, got a text. The birds are good. Fed them an hour ago. When do you think you'll be back? My brother checking up on me to see how the chickens and turkeys are doing.
Now that you have a character sheet, now that maybe you've created a character, how do all these numbers and words work in actual practice in the game? What do they mean, and how do we apply them to the game? So to do that, we're going to actually be playing a sample session of Dungeons & Dragons. I will be both the player and the DM, and we'll give it a shot here. Should be kind of fun. If you don't have a character sheet, I recommend you check out my website, wasd20.net, on the resources tab there, and I'll put a link to this in the description. I'll have a section there with some pre-generated characters, including the one that I'm using today, and you can download those, check them out, and follow along with me what I'm doing. Or if you're feeling adventurous, you could try to create your own character sheet. I also have a whole series of videos dedicated to that. Now, I just want to say that this video is totally optional. Let's say that you've been invited to play Dungeons & Dragons for the first time, and you're wanting to learn all the rules before you show up to actually play. Well, good luck with that. The rules are pretty dense. There's a lot to learn about the game, and I would never attempt to do something like that in this video. It would be hours long. If you've been invited to play in a game, one of the best things you can do is just show up with an open mind. If you have a good dungeon master and a good group, they're going to welcome you and teach you the rules on the fly as you go. That's how I learned. But that said, if you want to learn how some of the basics of the game work in practice, this video is for you, so keep watching. With that out of the way, let's get down to the game. Here we have our battle mat. You don't always play D&D with a map like this, but some people prefer to. If you're not playing with a map, you're just kind of imagining things, and we call that the theater of the mind. But for our sake today, just to have a visual, we'll be playing with a map, and we'll be playing with minis too. First, I'd like to just say a word about the Dungeon Master. The DM in Dungeons & Dragons is the lead storyteller. The rest of the players should also be a part of the storytelling, and depending on the DM, it could be a very big part of the storytelling, but the DM is the lead storyteller in general. The DM is also the adjudicator of rules. They make the calls on what goes and what does not, and sometimes they can choose to bend the rules a little bit for the sake of the game. They don't normally play a character, but they do play multiple non-player characters. So they're not going to be a party member in general, but they do get to play lots of characters.
So wait,
the DM also describes...
Can it be done with, like, if there's one DM and two guys, like a two-man party is basically what would be happening here? I don't know if these guys have, like, another person invited to this D&D session that I was invited to. There's going to be 4 of us or just the 3 of us? I feel like 4 at least, right? At least a party of 3.
Describes scenes, creates obstacles and adventures for the players, all the while trying to adapt to player actions. So usually you begin a session of D&D with the Dungeon Master setting the scene. In this case, when I'm speaking as the DM, I'm going to do my best to have the red D20 out here. And when I'm describing the actions of the player and speaking in my player's voice, I'll have the purple D20 out here. Now today I'll be playing as ELDEN Seroshent, who is a wood elf fighter. He happens to be the character I play in the Provokers campaign, and he's level 3. Usually you'll be starting at level 1, but I just happen to have this level 3 character sheet handy, so I figured I'd use this. And it'll give us a few more abilities to play around with too during the session. So we generally start with our Dungeon Master setting the scene with a little exposition, a little narration, if you will. So now the Dungeon Master is going to set the scene. You are ELDEN Seroshent, a young wood elf soldier who has been tasked with scouting the position of a fierce orc vagabond known as Elosk the Man-Eater. Rumor has it he has moved into the area, and everyone knows he is no good. The village elders have tasked you with finding his location so that a raiding party might be sent to root him out. Alright, now, ELDEN is a bit of a brash soldier, shoot the arrow now and ask questions later type of guy. So, I have a feeling he's not going to be so into the task of scouting, but he's going to try to take out Elosk himself. If I'm playing in character, that's what I'll probably do. Now, as the player, one of the first things you need to know about D&D is you just narrate your action. So, I am going to say, I walk down the path to the river to see if I see any footprints. Now, the DM might say, you see footprints scattered about in the mud, and they're going in many directions. Okay, well, I think I want to move a little closer here and see if I see anything on or across the river. Anyone across the other side, perhaps? You don't see anyone, but you do see a fishing line out in the middle of the river. Looks like it's coming from your side of the river. Okay, well, I think I want to try to sneak along the back here and see if I can see anyone from further back so as not to alert them. Now, the DM might decide that I need to be stealthy, but in this case, the sound of the river is loud enough where I can do it without making a stealth check. So, I sneak along here, and the DM says, on a rock, you see with his back to you, a man. He's wearing leather, and he is holding a fishing pole.
Let's mug him.
A man. Well, I have a feeling he might be able to give me some good information. So I'm just going to knock an arrow, just in case. Pull out my short bow, knock an arrow, and I'm going to call out to him. You there! Now, what I just did is I spoke in my character's voice. Rather than just saying, I call out to him, I said, I call out to him, and then I actually did call out to him in character voice. Now, your character might actually have the same voice as you. You don't have to put on a funny accent. Some people enjoy that, some people don't. But the point is, you're speaking in the first person kind of, well, you're speaking from a first person perspective. You're immersed. And so that's a style I prefer, but everyone has different styles. Some people might just say, I call out to him to try to get his attention. Anyway, I call out to him, you there! And the DM says, he turns around looking quite startled, and he says,
what was that? Who goes there?
I say, have you seen anyone traveling around here? Any signs of, well, an orc?
An orc? Well, no, I can't say I have. I'm just here minding my own business, you know, trying to catch some fish.
So as the player, I have a feeling this guy might not be telling me the truth. I feel like he might not be totally honest with me. So I'm going to try to figure out, can I tell if he's nervous? Is he shifting? And can I tell if he's telling me the truth? Now, the DM's going to say, make an insight check. Alright, so we have our very first skill check. This is an essential part of D&D. Our skills are all listed on the character sheet right here. And in ELDEN's case, we find that Insight has a +2 bonus. For all skill checks, and this is true of most D20 games, not just D&D, you're going to be rolling a D20 and then adding the appropriate modifier. For Insight, which is how I would tell if he is telling the truth or not, I'm going to roll my D20 and add 2. So, here we go. Alright, I have my assistant here, 5-year-old Caleb, and he rolled a 17 for me. Excellent work, Caleb. So, 17 plus 2 is 19, so the DM's going to say, you can tell that he is not being very truthful. He is shifting, he is twitching, and looks very nervous. Okay, so he's not being totally truthful with me. Well, ELDEN again is kind of a brash guy. I think I'm going to move up, and I'm going to try to intimidate him. I'm going to keep my arrow knocked, and I'm going to move closer, glaring at him, raising my bow just slightly, and tell him, you had better be truthful with me. I can tell you know something else. Make an intimidation check. Alright, so now I'm going to make my second skill check. Intimidation for ELDEN. You can see I have a +1 to intimidation. Actually, Caleb's going to roll for me. Alright, he rolled a 7, which,
that's an odd
intimidation +1, that's an 8. And I'm going to say that this guy is probably not going to be intimidated by that. So, as the DM, I will say, he stares you down and says,
don't you threaten me, elf. I have powerful friends.
What to do, what to do. So he's just staring me down. Well, I think I'm going to back off. I don't think I want to provoke a fight with this guy. I'm going to back off and say, alright, well, I'm going to be on my way, and you stay out of my way. And he's going to move on to keep looking for this orc. I move away, but I continue to watch my back as I move. Alright, so I failed to intimidate that guy and wasn't able to get any information from him. So I'm going to keep moving, and I'm just going to try to, kind of sneak around and see what I can see if I see any other tracks or anything out of the ordinary. I think I'm going to move this way. Stop. When you get right here, you hear a sharp twang, and you need to make a dexterity saving throw. Alright, so saving throw. This is my very first saving throw, and they're similar to skills in some ways. They are based on our abilities, ability scores and ability modifiers, just as the skills are. But they're more general. So in this case, I'm going to be making a dexterity saving throw, and I have a +2 bonus there. So saving throws are things that you'll face that you need to resist in some way, whether it's through the force of mind and will, or through the just brute strength or constitution or whatever. In this case, it's kind of quickness and agility. So if something is going to be falling on me, just tell you it's a falling net trap. So I have to make a dexterity saving throw. And I make a 5 + 2 gives me a 7, which is not going to be enough. The DC on this is 10. That's the difficulty. So that's not going to be enough. So a net has fallen on me. Alright, I am knocked down, and I am going to try to get to my dagger and try to cut myself free from this trap. Alright, so I'm going to reach for my dagger and see if I can hit this thing. It says in my book here that the net has an armor class of 10, so I have to get 10 to hit. This is kind of like combat here. I'm going to be using my dagger, and I have a +4 attack bonus, so I'm going to roll my d20, and I'm going to add my attack bonus of 4. 17 + 4 is 21. I had to get 10 to get this net, and so that is a hit. My damage for my dagger is 1d4, which I have here, +2. So here we go. Alright, I got a 2. Plus 2 is 4. And that is not quite enough. So I'm not able to cut a big enough gash in this with my dagger. I think I'm going to try to just throw this thing off. It's probably weighted down in some way. I'm just going to try a strength check to throw it off. So in this case, this is just a straight up strength check here. It's not really a saving throw so much. And so I have a plus 2 to strength, and I need to get a 10 in order to throw this thing off. I got a 2. Alright, so that's not working so well. I'm stuck in this net. I'm going to give it a shot with my dagger again. Alright, 16 plus 4 is 20, so I definitely am able to hit. And now I'll roll 1d4 plus 2 damage. 3 plus 2 is 5. You cut a gash that is big enough in the net, slashing it with your dagger in order for you to be freed from its grasp. Alright, so I'm out of the net there. Bit of a struggle. I think now I'm going to actually try to climb this tree. That trap has made me suspicious, and I'm going to try to climb the tree and see what I can see. See if I see anything out of the ordinary in this area. The DM might decide that I need to make a check in order to climb the tree, but in the interest of time here, I'm just going to say I'm able to climb the tree. So what do I see from up here? I'm looking for anything out of the ordinary. Straight ahead, you see a cave opening, and you see light flickering from within the cave. It has become dark outside, but you can see light clearly flickering from within the cave. Oh, I'm sorry to leave you on a cliffhanger there. What could be in that cave? Well, so far in this one, we've covered the role of the DM. We've covered how to narrate action, how to make a skill check, how to make a saving throw. In the next one, we're going to get into some real combat against something that hits back, something that is not made of rope and does not simply fall from a tree. So that should be fun. Until then, make sure you give this one a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment below, let me know what you think. And everybody take care. Until next time, happy gaming.
Yeah, it's like the final boss intro
Last
music.
time on How to Play D&D.
You are Erdan Seroshent, a young wood elf soldier who has been tasked with scouting the position of a fierce orc vagabond known as Elosk the Man-Eater, to see if I see any footprints. They're going in many directions. A man. He's wearing leather, and he is holding a fishing pole. You there.
What was that? Who goes there?
Any signs of, well, an orc?
An orc? Well, no.
You had better be truthful with me. I'm gonna be on my way, and you stay out of my way. You hear a sharp twang, and you need to make a dexterity saving throw. A net has fallen on me. I think now I'm gonna actually try to climb this tree. So what do I see from up here? I'm looking for anything out of the ordinary. A cave opening, and you see light flickering from within the cave.
Alright, welcome back to How to Play D&D, everybody. We will be continuing our adventure where we left off last time, and along the way we'll be learning some new rules and how to do some more things in D&D. Let's get right back to it.
I think that I'm gonna try to sneak up into these bushes here and see if I can see or hear anything better from there. Make a stealth check. Alright, so another skill check here. This time stealth plus 2. So I'm going to sneak up. Try to at least. Alright, I get an 18 plus 2 is going to give me a 20. And it's up to the DM to decide what the check needs to be depending on, you know, how close other people are, how sober other people are, things like that, how much other background noise there is. So in this case, a 20 is definitely going to be enough for me to get in this bush, and I'm hiding in this bush, just kind of crouched in the brush there. So I ask the DM, what can I see from right here? You see the inside of the cave scattered with rocks, the light reflecting off the inside of the cave wall, but nothing else can be seen at this point. I think I'm going to try to sneak over here and see if I can see anything from here. Make another stealth check. Alright, so I'm going to make my stealth check. Hopefully I can remain stealthy. 10 plus 2, and I had actually decided that this was going to have to be a 12, whereas it took a 10 to get here. The DM decided in this case it was going to be a 12 to get here because you're a little bit closer. So I'm able to sneak successfully over to here. Okay, so what do I see from here now? You see a large figure crouched in front of a fire wearing rough hide armor, a slight greenish hue to his skin. Okay. Well, I think this is the guy. I think I'm going to try to kind of stealthily back up here, and yep, I'm gonna attack. I'm gonna try to make an attack with my bow and arrow. So I'm gonna draw my short bow once again, and I'm gonna try to back up in a stealthy fashion. Make a stealth check. All right, now since I'm backing up, I'm not really getting any closer. This is gonna require a DC 12, I've decided. So I'm gonna say stealth check DC 12. Here we go. Oh, I easily make it. So I'm going to back up here, or I'm going to back up to the riverbank. I'm going to crouch behind the river. So, in this case, I have a short bow, and the short bow has a range of 120 feet, I think it is. So I'm easily going to be able to make that shot if I hit. You want to look at the range of your ranged weapons. But my short bow has a range of 120 feet, which this is going to give me the ability to hit. I'm going to roll to attack now.
Alright, so we've got a lot of information coming your way here, but this will help make combat go more smoothly. The first thing you need to determine in combat is anyone surprised? In the case we're about to see, you'll notice that the orc is surprised. I am aware of his presence, I'm about to attack him, and he is not yet aware of my presence. The second thing we need to do here is roll initiative. Now, initiative is a roll on a d20 that you add your initiative bonus to, which is usually based on your dexterity modifier, and whoever gets the highest roll gets to go first in the order of combat. So all the monsters and players roll, and the DM places them in the correct order. So we have determined step 1 that the orc is going to be surprised. Now, of course, for step 2, we are going to roll for initiative.
My initiative modifier is +2. The orc's initiative modifier is also +2. So we're going to see who gets to go first once combat starts. Alright, so I get a 14 plus 2 is 16. The orc gets a 1 and plus 2 is 3. So I get to go first, but first we do the surprise round.
And because the orc is surprised, he doesn't get to take a turn in this round. But let's head back to the book a second so we can actually see what our options are for actions in combat.
Combat in D&D generally consists of two things. You have your movement and you have your action. Now there are some rare cases where you can also get a bonus action for certain things, but don't plan on that for every turn, thinking that, oh, I need to take a bonus action too. Generally, you have movement and action. Your action is generally going to be your attack, and actually there are a whole lot of other things you can do in combat too. On page 192 of the Player's Handbook, you can read all about the possible actions in combat. So they are attack, cast a spell, dash, disengage, dodge, help, hide, ready, search, use an object. So there's just a whole lot of things that you could do in combat in addition to making an attack.
Alright, quite a bit of information there, but let's get back to the game and see exactly what I'm going to do in this surprise round of combat.
So we are now in combat. Surprise round. I draw my bow and I take a shot at the orc. My short bow, I have +4.
Wait, what?
To attack. So 4.
Wait, it looked like that guy had a shield on.
8 to hit.
But he had dual wield?
Now I have the orc's stats written out here. This is Elosk the Man-Eater. And he has an armor class of 13. So I've just rolled an 8 to hit. I am not going to be able to hit with that because I only got an 8 and I would have to get a 13 in order to hit this guy. So the DM says, your arrow clangs against the rock here and is deflected in that direction. Well, shoot. So now he's probably going to be aware of me. And let's see. It is still my turn since I'm first in the initiative order. Now we officially, the surprise round is over. He's aware of me. Now we begin real combat. So I'm going to roll to attack again with my short bow. Alright, now that time I got a 19. And for me, actually, I'm a fighter and I took the champion ability. I forgot to write this down. But a 19 is going to be a critical hit. Usually a 20 is a critical hit because...
Yeah, I'm thinking I might just do a pre-built character for my first campaign. I don't know about making my own dude. I'll go talk to the DM guy that's like across the road.
I'm a champion. It's a 19 or a 20 is a critical hit. So this is a good opportunity to talk about what is a critical hit. First off, when you roll a 20, it's always going to be a success no matter what it is. In this case, it's a critical hit, so I'm definitely going to hit no matter what the armor class is. Usually when you do a critical hit, you double your damage dice. So, my short bow is 1d6 plus 2. I don't get to damage all of that, but how it works is I get to double my die roll. So 1d6 I have here. I got a 4. If I double that, it's 8. And then I add my modifier of plus 2. So that's going to be a total of 10 damage against this orc. As the DM, I keep track of the statistics here, and he now has 5 hit points left. So that was pretty good. My first attack, I rolled a critical hit. Alright, now he is aware of me. It's his turn now, and as the DM I say, the orc moves toward you, fiercely, brandishing a javelin. He's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he is now within range.
I'm curious now, what the hell does a 4-sided dice look like? Four-sided dice. Oh, it's like a triangle. Oh, okay, like a pyramid kind of. That makes sense.
Of his javelin, and he cries out, "Who are you?" And he throws the javelin in my direction.
In order to hit me, he needs to match my armor class, which is 15, or 17 if I have my shield.
I have my bow out, so it's reasonable to assume I do not have my shield right now. It's probably stowed on my pack. So, here we go. He's going to roll to attack. With his javelin, he has a +5 bonus. 9 plus 5, or that's a 6 actually. The dot is on the bottom. So 6 plus 5 is 11. That is not going to be enough to hit my armor class. So the DM says, "The javelin whizzes past your head and into the water." Alright, at this point, I think I am going to drop my bow on the bank here, and I'm going to draw my sword as I charge toward him. Alright, now I'm going to be using my longsword. So my longsword also has a +4 attack bonus. So I'm going to roll to hit first. Alright, I got a 15. And then my damage, if I'm holding this thing two-handed, I don't have my shield on, it's going to be 1d10 plus 2. If I do have my shield, it's 1d8 plus 2. And some weapons have the versatile property they can be used one or two-handed, two-handed with a slight damage advantage. So in this case, 1d10. This is my d10. And I'm going to add 2. In this case, I got the 0 actually on these ones is a 10, so I got a 10 plus 2. And so that is going to do this guy in. Wow, he didn't last as long as I thought he would. So, he's gone. When a monster reaches 0 hit points, they're dead. So the DM might say, if I'm DMing, I usually say, "Describe how you kill this orc." Alright, so I charge him with my sword and plunge my sword into his belly, moving it up, and he falls to the ground, spitting blood in my face. Alright, so a nice grisly ending for our orc here. Now, just so you know, if I get to 0 hit points, I don't automatically die. You can look up how death saves work, but I'll just make a note of that. If I were to get to 0 hit points, I would not automatically die. You get a chance to make some saves to live. But I would be knocked down, and I would be unconscious at 0 hit points or less. The only way I do die is if I get to negative 28 hit points or I fail to make my saves. But that's for another time. Alright, so Erdon Saroshen was victorious in his fight against this orc. He would probably, I don't know, take off his head and take it back to the village as proof or something like that. He would probably go in and explore the cave here. Perhaps he would find, you know, human bones or elf bones, the victims of his plunder. After all, he is Elosk the Man-Eater. Perhaps he would loot the cave and find some gold or some weapons that he could use, or perhaps on the corpse. But that's just some of the basics of how you play D&D. So in this little episode here, we have learned how to make saving throws, how to use our skills and make skill checks. We've learned about armor class and weapon damage. So I hope this has all been helpful for you. Feel free to leave any comments down below, and I hope to do more of these videos as well. Teach more of the basics of Dungeons and Dragons and how to play the game.
Shit, they're gonna beat our ass.
It's a great game. I want to thank my assistant 5-year-old Caleb here for joining me and helping me roll some dice and hand me things. And yeah, everybody take care. Until next time, happy gaming.
Really got much in the way of like actually kiting a paladin. I'd probably need to go like no, I can't even with this build because I have no points in enhancements. Huh. Well, I think we lose.
Hey everyone, welcome to WASD20. My name is Nate, and this is How to Play D&D. So this time on How to Play D&D, we're going to be learning all about how magic works in the game. As with part 1 and 2, I'm not going to try to teach you all the rules for magic. Rather, we're going to be going through a sample session, and along the way we'll be taking pretty frequent pauses to explain how certain things work. If you want the full rules for magic, I definitely recommend you read about it in the magic section here in the Player's Handbook, or in the free basic rules PDF, which you can get online. And as always, I recommend you check out my website, wasd20.net, where you can find the Beginner's Guide to D&D 5th Edition. Alright, without further ado, let's get down to the game. Alright, so we are going to begin our session today in the bedroom of our main character, our player character, Shaunus Briswell. And the DM usually begins a session by setting the scene with some short narration. I'm going to be putting on a funny DM voice, as I did last time, just so you can tell a little bit better when I'm being the DM and when I'm talking as the player. And I will also be using the red die when I'm talking as the DM, and I'll try to put out the purple die when I am talking in the voice of the player. Alright, so I'll start by setting the scene as the Dungeon Master. You are Shaunus Briswell, a young novice wizard who has been working under the great master wizard, Haelrin the Wise. You wake up one morning in the 3-story building that comprises your master's study and living quarters to a commotion downstairs. What had you been doing in your bedroom as you prepared for the day? Well, as a wizard, I had probably been walking around, waving my hands, readying my spells for the day, and kind of practicing and getting in the routine so that I can look good in front of my master. Alright, so that is just a little description of what my player was doing, and now it's a good time to pause and talk about spells. So for our purposes, we're mainly going to be looking at how spells work for a wizard, because that's what our character is. But understand it works a little bit differently for each class. Here are the other spellcasting classes, but really any class in D&D could get spells if you work it right. Here's a really helpful way that I look at spells when we talk about preparing spells, as our main character has been doing here. What are we talking about? First off, at the bottom of our pyramid here, we have known spells. For a wizard, this is our spell book. This is all the spells that I have listed
on my character sheet here. These are my known spells. These are spells I have in my spell book. For a cleric, this is actually every cleric spell is able to be prepared at the beginning of a day. So a cleric gets to choose from every cleric spell. So it's a little different with every class, so look it up in the book for your specific class that you're wanting to play and read that section on how it works. For us, I have darkened in, I've put a little darkened circle by each of the spells I have chosen to prepare. How did I know how many spells to prepare for the day? Well, that's in the book too. I looked it up and it's wizard level plus intelligence modifier. My wizard level is 3, I'm playing a 3rd level character, and my intelligence modifier is plus 3. So I get 6 total spells prepared each day. And that's what I've been doing as I go through my room here, going through the motions, looking through my spell book, and preparing my spells for the day, selecting which ones I want to have at the ready. Now, I'm not going to get too much into ritual spells, maybe I'll do a future video on that, but those are spells that I can still cast in a day. It's going to take some time, and I don't really need to have them prepared in order to cast them. We'll talk about that some other time, perhaps. So we've got our known spells in the spell book, we've got our prepared spells, the ones that we have ready for that day, and then lastly, we have our spell slots. This is like the magical energy we have to cast spells at a certain level. So our spell slots, you can see here, for level 1 spells, we have 4 of them. Every time I cast a level 1 spell, I am going to put a tally mark in the slots expended there. And that is going to help me remember, okay, I have used however many first level spell slots for that day. That resets at a long rest. So this could mean that I cast Shield 4 times, or each of these top 4 once, or Grease 3 times, or Chromatic Orb once. Any combination that gives us 4 spell slots is what I'm able to do for that day. For my level 2 spells, I have 2 spell slots, but I only have 1 level 2 spell prepared. So that means I could cast Mirror Image twice, or I could actually take one of my first level spells, and if the book has instructions for casting it at a higher level, I could do that. So my Chromatic Orb, for example, I could take that and use a level 2 spell slot, and I would probably get to add some extra damage to that spell. I'm casting it at a higher level. And again, the book has instructions for each spell on if it can be cast at a higher level. So what about those cantrips up above? Those are spells that are actually exempt from the regular rules of spell slots and all this. Those are spells that I can cast anytime, at will, and that's really nice. That's a nice thing about 5th edition, is there are some pretty cool spells that I can cast unlimited. I don't have to worry about spell slots for them. Alright, that's enough for now. Let's get back to the gaming table. So the DM has told us that we have awoken to a commotion downstairs. And now that we have prepared our spells and finished getting ready for the day, we maybe rush to throw our tunic on. So I simply narrate to the DM that I rushed down the stairs. I want to look for anything out of the ordinary. And the DM might say, "Firstly, you have noticed that Halrin had been acting strangely as of late. And as you quickly dress and enter the main floor, you find it looks very disheveled. A couple of vials have been tipped over, and a chair appears to have smashed against the wall. Books and papers are strewn across the floor."
Alright, how long have I been live? Oh yeah, I can't exactly tell anymore. Like an hour and a half. It is 1:30, almost 1:30. I'm gonna take a break, get something to eat, go talk to the DM, see how I can get my character set up, etc. And yeah, call it a break here. I'll probably be back on later to play that Visage game. If not Gold Farm, because I know I'm too much of a broke boy to really buy supplies to go into BWL right now, or MC. I'm not in a rush to do those, really. I mainly care about Thunderon to get that badass sword dagger thing. Alright.